Hi students, our today's ERQ is evaluate research on localization of function with regard to human behavior. So this is a very simple ERQ. I will tell you how to structure it, how to write and what to write in it. So let's see the command term first. It says evaluate. That means we need to evaluate, write its strengths and weaknesses. Of what? Evaluate research on localization. It means I need to write the strengths and weaknesses of the research, which is of course our supporting study that we are going to use in the CRQ. And we take the supporting studies from biological approach, localization chapter. So let's get started. Okay, we start this question by writing the introduction, and this is what I write about the localization and how is it connected to the supporting studies that I'm going to mention in this ERQ. So the first paragraph goes like this. Localization function is the theory that specific parts of the brain are responsible for certain behaviors or cognitive processes. Localization can be carried out by studying brain damage. For example, Milner investigated the role of the hippocampus in memory formation. It may also be studied by seeing where neuroplasticity is happening. Maguire carried out an experiment on how cognitive processes may lead to neuroplasticity in the hippocampus. Both of these studies show us that cognitive processes may be localized in the brain. Now, this was the introduction, and I have also written that which all studies that I'm going to write in my ERQ. The first study that I discuss is about Milner. This is what I write. Milner carried out a case study focusing on the role of the hippocampus in memory formation. HM was an amnesic who was unable to transfer information from short-term memory to long-term memory as a result of a surgery that had removed tissue from his medial temporal lobe to stop his epilepsy. Milner gave HM different types of tests, including memory test and IQ test. HM was also taught reverse mirror drawing. His behaviors were directly observed and interviews were done with HM and his family members. The results from the IQ test was above average. Memory test showed that HM could not acquire new episodic knowledge or semantic knowledge. HM improved in reverse mirror drawing, but he did not remember learning the skill. Therefore, his procedural memories were well maintained. From her findings, Milner concluded that the hippocampus is responsible for memory consolidation and the transfer of short-term to long-term memory. She also concluded that other parts of the brain were responsible for other aspects of memory. Now, this I have written the study and I've made sure I write the results and the aim, the procedure, the sample, everything well enough. Then as the question demands, I have to write the evaluation part, that is strengths and the weaknesses. So this is my evaluation in the next paragraph that goes like this. The study was longitudinal since HM was studied over 50 years, which is the strength to the study. The benefits of a longitudinal study are that changes can be observed over time. Another strength of the study that HM was studied in his natural environment, which indicates high ecological validity. A limitation of the study is that it is not easily replicated because it is difficult to find patients that have a similar case like HM. The next I write is the second supporting study, that is of Maguire, and this is what I write in it. The aim of Maguire's study was to investigate the brains of local London taxi drivers to see how their brains might be different from non-taxi drivers. The study was a natural experiment, meaning that the independent variable was not manipulated by Maguire. The study included 16 right-handed London taxi driver participants as a part of the procedure. They were compared to 50 right-handed males who were not taxi drivers, being the control group. The participants had to complete a mandatory test known as the knowledge test and had to have their license for 1.5 years. MRI was used to measure the density of gray matter in the brain. The results showed that the volume of the right posterior hippocampi had a correlation with the amount of time being spent a taxi driver. This relates to localization of function because the results indicate that the posterior hippocampus is involved in the processing of spatial memory. This indicates that their hippocampus experiences neuroplasticity when responding to environmental demands. Neuroplasticity is the result of the use of this part of the brain, helping researchers to determine its actual function. Now again, very important part, that is the evaluation. I'm going to write the strengths and the weaknesses, and this is what I evaluate and write in my answer. A strength of this study is that it was a single blind control, therefore it avoided researcher bias. Another strength is that the study can be replicated since it is done in a well-controlled environment and has a well-standardized procedure. A standardized procedure is helpful in replicating the study. A limitation of the study was that it is a natural experiment, therefore no cause and effect relationship that can be established. It was naturally occurring because the independent variable was not manipulated. The fact that only men were studied means that we cannot generalize the study to women. Now another very important conclusion, it is just not the conclusion, you have to take the gist of the whole answer and write it of your ERQ and write it in the last paragraph. So this conclusion also carries 2 marks. It is very important that you write it nicely. This is what I write in my conclusion. Please do note it. It is a very good conclusion, I would say, that of an ERQ. In Milner's case study, there may have been extraneous variables that affected the findings. The experiment is not in a controlled environment. Thus, it is difficult to establish a clear cause and effect. This case study is also reliant on qualitative data. The problem with this is that the data is reductionist. The data is reductionist because saying that the hippocampus is only responsible for memory can be too simplistic. In Milner's study, there is also the possibility of confirmation bias. Maguire's study was a lab experiment, thus the experiment was in a well-controlled environment. The benefits of lab experiments are that it is easy for researchers to manipulate an independent variable and control all other variables. Maguire's experiment can be replicated so that ecological validity can be determined. There is also the issue that participants may be uncomfortable in the MRI as it is loud and they have to keep still. In conclusion, research has been able to show that specific types of memory are localized.